What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the site. Today I just wanted to cover a really quick video on intra workouts. I think this is something that is a little bit overcomplicated and it's sort of deemed as this supplement in itself. And I want to sort of just bring it back to the basics and basically tell you what an intra workout is, whether or not it's needed, and if it is, how do we structure it. So firstly, what is it? Essentially, it's what it says on the tin. It's what you drink intra-workout. Now, if you're in a phase that requires much higher calories, have it be a bodybuilding off-season or whatever, then you may sort of view this as a little bit of a meal. It's an opportunity to get food in. But if you're someone who is training, or if you're more of the general population, let's say, or more of your low-level competitor, you may just sort of want to think about how an intra-workout drink could potentially benefit you, and we'll come on to that. So, first things first, is it needed? No, absolutely not. It is most certainly not needed. And unlike every other sort of supplement and the majority of the variables that are usually talking points, it's going to be one of those 1%, 0.1% that never really make a noticeable effect, let's say. However, in unison, these little 0.1 or 1% has obviously add up to quite a substantial amount. And so it's important that if you are trying to be at the top of your game, you are ticking these boxes. And intra-workout, in my opinion, is one of those little boxes. So there's definitely merit in including an intra-workout where necessary, and we'll come on to how we can structure that and how it can benefit us. But the short answer to is it needed? Absolutely not. Especially if you're someone who is just sort of venturing into the gym for the first time, or you're still in your first 1 to 2 years of training, you can definitely swerve the intra workout, and I in fact would recommend you swerve the intra workout and use it as a tool, let's say, further down the line. So when you first get into the gym, if you're someone who's trained within that 1 to 2 years, and you're just sort of getting started, I'd recommend simply just drinking your water. Just a bottle of water will do you fine. You don't need to go any further than that, I would say. If you're someone who maybe struggles with general cellular hydration, you may benefit from including some electrolytes there. I, in fact, would arguably recommend electrolytes. I think that they are very important. Not to the point where if you don't include them, you'll be penalised with progression. But I do think that if you are someone who struggles with cellular hydration, or it's not something that you naturally account for with your daily food, you would probably benefit from including some electrolytes within there, but water would for the most part be sufficient. Now, over time, we may begin to want to introduce that maybe as an opportunity to bring more food into your daily totals, or as an opportunity to maybe try and see more progression in the gym or improve your immediate post-workout recovery. And so an intra-workout is fantastic for that. Now, fundamentally, I would say that you're looking pretty much at just a carb and a protein, and that's sort of the basics there. Now, we'll come on to those in a little bit of detail. We'll start off with protein. So what are you looking for? Are you going to throw whey in there or casein in itself? Probably not, no. We're going to look more so, or you're going to dice up a chicken breast and blend it? Probably not, no. What we're looking for here is an easily digestible source that's going to pass through the digestive system very quickly and very easily, without sort of detracting from what you're actually doing, which is training. If you throw something in there that's going to have a severe digestive issue and cause a lot of blood flow to come out of the working muscles and help with the digestive process, that's sort of going against the idea of having that easily digestible intra-workout source of protein or carbohydrates. So when it comes to protein, I really recommend the EAAs, if I'm honest. It has a much greater, richer nutrient profile, much greater, richer amino acid profile than your branched chain amino acids, your BCAAs, and so I immediately favour the EAA to the BCAA there. Alternatively, we can look at something like a Pepto Pro, which essentially is just hydrolyzed casein, and I don't really have a preference. I think that maybe in a dieting phase you may benefit more from the fuller protein source in the hydrolyzed casein or the Pepto Pro, but I think we're splitting hairs. I think either of those are a fantastic source. Now, when it comes to carbohydrates, this is not necessarily more complex, there's a bit more to touch on. So, an example of a carbohydrate powder, you're looking at your dextrose, fructose, glucose through maybe like a Lucozade or a Gatorade or something along those lines. One thing that I in fact love is, well, that's embarrassing because I can't remember what it's called. If you guys are from the UK and you've trained at Ultraflex Rotherham, It's the big blue and purple bottles they have there. Unbelievable, that is. But yeah, your glucose through like a Lucozade or Gatorade, what have you. Maltodextrin, highly branched cyclic dextrin, etc. Now, in terms of which one of those you should select, well, firstly, if you're someone who's just firstly coming onto an intra workout, which is most likely a lot of you guys watching this video, I'd recommend just going with your basic dextrose, maybe your glucose through a Lucozade. I think that's probably a good starting point, and then maybe almost progressing that over time to a dextrose or a fructose. And then maybe as food gets higher, as your digestive system requires more consideration, you may want to look at upgrading to a higher quality, let's call it, carbohydrate source in maybe your HBCD, your highly branched cyclic dextrin. There's merit in doing that from a digestive perspective due to the smaller molecular weight. Again, you're probably splitting hairs. I'd base it more on sort of a trial and error basis. Dextrose and the likes of that are going to be so much cheaper, all for a marginal digestive difference. And so if you can handle dextrose, let's just say, fructose similar, we'll compare dextrose and HBCD, right? They're probably the two that you'll hear about most. I apologize, having something in my eye. Start off with dextrose. That's the cheapest. That's the sort of entry level carb powder, let's say, beyond your basic drinkable glucose through Lucozades, etc. If you handle dextrose well, there's your solution. Run with dextrose. If immediately or over time you begin to find digestive issues with that dextrose, you may look to, as I say, quotation mark, upgrade to HBCD. It's a lot more expensive, but that's because it's a lot more efficient from a digestive perspective. So, what's the merit in having the intra-workout carb source? Well, when we train, cortisol increases, and cortisol and muscle protein breakdown are usually related. There is a relation between those two things. Now, obviously, if we take in carbohydrates, our blood sugar will increase. Therefore, the pancreas will release insulin, and insulin will almost help and protect that muscle protein breakdown from cortisol in the simplest form. That's basically what's going on there. And so you can see how there is benefit there. As I said, other people may find benefit from it being something you can add to your total daily carbohydrate intake. Some people may feel as though they can train that bit longer, harder, etc. I'll make no comment on that. If you find that that's a benefit and you find you can train that bit longer and harder, then there's another benefit for you. But those are the benefits and sort of main fundamentals of your intra-workout drink, the carb and the protein through your dextrose or HBCD or whichever you select, through your EAA or Pepto Pro, whichever you select. What else can we add? Well, there's a bunch of things, and this is so dependent on you, the goal, what your other food looks like, what your pre-workout looks like, and a lot of the stuff that you may want to tie into your intra is going to be down to what your pre-workout was like. For example, if you've got a high stimulant pre, you'd want a low stimulant intra. If you've got a high citrulline pre, you'd want a low citrulline intra, etc. So you have to account for this when you put your pre together. You have to sort of consider each other with that. Because otherwise you can end up with very skew with doses of certain things. I think there's definitely benefit in having a creatine intra. Is there any benefit to the creatine being intra in itself? No. But if you're making an intra, that means you're actively thinking about what ingredients to put in a drink. And so if it helps you remember to take your creatine, then that's the benefit I'm referring to. Creatine we can take at whatever time you like. You can argue all day about benefits from this time or this time. Again, if there is any benefit, you're going to be splitting hairs. Personally, I don't think there is. So I would say if it helps you remember to take your creatine, get it in there. Maybe you want to throw in some glutamine, and there's place for that. And we're going to cover those sort of things more so in the pre-workout video that's to come in a couple of weeks' time. But that is the fundamentals of your intra-workout drink there. And I would say that if you're someone who's just looking to venture into the world of intra-workout drinks, which is probably 95% plus of the people watching this video, if you are ready to be able to take your intra-workout to that next level, then maybe we can consider discussing how you want to do that through a consultation on the website, or if you want to drop me a message on the Instagram that's on the screen, we can chat about that further. But as I say, for the most part, if you're looking to introduce an intra-workout to your plan, consider your carbs and your proteins, and that's probably all you'll need to begin with. Cheers, guys.